So I'm Catherine Katcher. I'm the founder and executive director of Root and Rebound. And today I'm going to start off by telling you a story about Joel and Brenda. So Joel and Brenda are a couple that live in Sacramento, California. Joel is a college student of an older age who's gone back to school and an anti-violence advocate in his community. He's someone who grew up with a lot of violence in his home and now speaks about domestic violence issues in his community. Joel and Brenda also own their own small family business. So one day last winter, Joel and Brenda decided to take a trip to the Folsom Prison Museum, which is in their community, as a way to process Joel's past. They pulled into the parking lot, purchased tickets, and were about to walk through the door when Joel got a call from his parole officer telling him he needed to leave the premises right away. They had no idea what happened, but 2 days later, Joel was called into his parole office and arrested, and he was sitting in county jail for days by the time Brenda found out about Root and Rebound and called our number. So at Root and Rebound, we believe that for people like Joel and his family, a criminal record should not be a life sentence. Root and Rebound was founded 3 years ago when I graduated from law school because after my work with prisoners on a variety of issues, I saw that post-release people were serving a second sentence as a result of the tremendous legal barriers that are in place in this country that have been built up over the last 40 years as we've created mass incarceration. So Root and Rebound's mission is to increase access to justice and opportunity for people in reentry from prison and jail, and to empower and educate those who support them in the community, like family, advocates, social workers, so that we can strengthen the reentry infrastructure across the state and across the country one day. Why do we do this work? We do this work because 1 in 3 Americans lives with some kind of criminal record. That means between 70 and 100 million Americans have some form of a criminal record. Each person with a criminal record faces over 44,000 legal barriers documented in the United States across every area of life. That means that a person with a record has barriers when it comes to getting employment, getting a license, housing, family reunification, and voting. How bad is it? Well, we know it's really bad when all these legal barriers exist and there's only one lawyer for every 10,000 Americans who cannot afford representation. The normal poor, the poor that don't even have criminal records or haven't been statistically analyzed in that way, the average poor family encounters 2 to 3 legal issues a year, and any one of those legal issues can be devastating for that family. So, when Root and Rebound was started, one of the issues that we were trying to get to was how could we reach the 1 in 3 Americans with a criminal record by bringing them legal advocacy, support, and education, when typically the legal aid model that we're taught in school is a one-on-one legal aid model, where I, as an attorney, am serving one client in an hour, which really limits who I can see in a given day, week, month, and year, and also the way that those issues are coming to me. I become a family law specialist, or I become an employment law specialist, so I'm only working on one issue for one person at a time. When we started the organization, the question was, how can a small team of attorneys, we were 2 attorneys at the time, now we're 6 attorneys in our office, how can a small team of attorneys impact 1 in 3 Americans that have a criminal record? And we knew that the answer had to be different than the legal aid model that we were being taught in school. The model that we developed over our first year and a half uses a 3-pronged approach. 1, it reacts to immediate needs, because when people are in crisis and they need an attorney, they do need direct assistance. 2, we proactively educate the public and the person leaving prison so that these issues do not become legal crises. And 3, we work on systems reform to dismantle the laws and policies that create these problems in the first place. So in essence, the 3 prongs of our model are a hotline and prison mail writing service, our entire education and training program, which includes the creation of guides, toolkits, in-person trainings, and online trainings, and lastly, systems reform work. In only a year and a half since launching our model, we've reached 6,000 plus people through our hotline and letter writing. 30,000 plus directly have gotten some form of education and training from the organization, and we've had a statewide impact on the systems reform work we've taken on. Again, we do this work because the fundamental belief is that a criminal record should not be a life sentence. When someone has served their time and they come out into the community, they should not be serving a second sentence. It doesn't help the individual, and it doesn't help us as a society to have people who remain marginalized. We believe that a criminal record should not be a life sentence when it comes to family reunification, employment, and accessing medical care, as some of the many issues that we see in the community. So I'm going to talk to you about three of these stories that we've come upon in our work. The first is Ashley. Ashley is a young mother who made a mistake. She served 1 year in state prison for a minor crime. It had nothing to do with her ability as a parent, minor theft. She responsibly, as a young 20-something-year-old African-American mother, she responsibly put a guardian in place in her community, a family friend. When she came out of prison, that family friend, that guardian, did not want to give her child back to her. And when she went to court to advocate for her rights as a parent, she realized that the courts were stacked against her. Even though her crime had nothing to do with the ability to be a parent, because she had a criminal record, the judge was going to tell her that child was safer with the guardian than with his own mother. And that's when she reached out to us. And we are some of the only family advocates in the country that work on behalf of people with records. And so we advocated for Ashley. We educated her about the system. We walked her through how to file paperwork. We were by her side. It took 3 years. Basically, she's one of the first clients that we started working with. And today, mother and son are reunited. And the son has appropriate visitation with the guardian, a wonderful family friend who continues to be in his life. On a systems-wide level, we've created toolkits for families and their loved ones to work together while a person is incarcerated, to create plans for that person to successfully navigate barriers, both while they're inside and prepare for release. We believe a criminal record should not be a life sentence when it comes to employment. Michael was a person who came to us while he was still on parole, and he believed a lot of people when they're in prison spend a lot of time studying law, so he was very smart. He studied the law, and he believed that he was wrongly calculated and should have been off already. And his parole officer told him he was wrong, and he felt that the situation was getting too tense and that he was going to have some retaliation if he kept pushing his parole officer on that. He also was working a minimum wage job, even though he'd been trained in prison in a training program to become a substance abuse therapist. But while on parole, he wasn't able to work in that capacity. It's a condition of his parole that he's not allowed to work in that capacity. When we looked into it, we discovered that, in fact, the law was on his side, that he was overcalculated on parole. We helped him advocate for himself, and he was terminated. He was able to move to a different county where he could get a job as a substance abuse therapist and could support his 2 children and his wife. On a systems-wide level, we are training not just people in reentry, but employers across the state on fair chance hiring policies to promote the hiring of people with records and to show companies the benefits of giving people a second chance. We also believe that a criminal record should not be a life sentence when it comes to accessing health care. One of the issues that we see across the country today is that after decades of mass incarceration, people who are coming out are at the end of their lives. They're in their 60s, 70s, 80s. These are elderly people. When Marcus came to us, it was 2 weeks after he had gotten out, and he had a severe heart condition and had not been taking his meds, because he didn't have access to them. He didn't have a doctor. He wasn't signed up for health care. He didn't have his medical paperwork, and he had no official state ID. And he had no idea how to go about getting all those things in place. We were able to help him do just that. And within a matter of days, he was in front of a doctor and getting the critical care he needed to survive. On a systems-wide level, our current systems reform work is actually on trying to create a system in which people can apply for medical care before they even leave prison or jail, so that gaps in care like this don't happen and we don't have people dying on the street because they don't have access to mental health medication or medication for their physical health. So we do all this work on an individual level, and as I've said, we're a new organization. So our projections for what we do is that we take some of these, as we know, pretty dire statistics when it comes to people with records. And through our intervention of helping break down barriers, we are able to cut these statistics in half. And I think just as importantly, we are able to provide dignity and hope to people who are told that their lives have no value. We have people who have written to us saying that they cannot believe that we create resources for people like me because I don't matter. And I'm shocked that you would go about creating an organization for someone like me. So when you show, as some people have talked about, hopelessness is one of the most dangerous things that can happen behind bars. And when you show people that they matter, when you show people that there's a group set up just for them, that's waiting for them when they get out, we will have much stronger family members and community members as a result. If you show people they matter, they believe it, and that makes a big difference in their outlook on life and their choices. Going back to Joel and Brenda's story, this was a case where clearly we felt that a technical violation of parole had happened. In fact, the parole office was correct, and Joel was on prison grounds, but he was intending to go see a museum to process his experience at the Folsom prison. And when he was taken in, his schooling was put at jeopardy because he missed so much class. Their business was put in jeopardy because he wasn't able to help work. And he sat in a jail cell for more than a week with no attorney who came to visit him, no understanding of what was going on in the system because we have such a backlogged public defense system. And we reached out after talking to Brenda to public defenders that were involved, to the parole office, who then spoke to the DA. We got letters of support from all the people who knew Joel as a community activist and as a scholar. And when Joel finally got his court date, he was, the charges were dropped. Today, Joel and Brenda say that Root and Rebound made them feel empowered when they were helpless and advocated for us when no one else would listen. And now they are the first people we will call with any questions. Our goal is to become a household name when it comes to reentry and reentry legal issues, to be the person that people know they can call. Right now in California, in only a year and a half, we've served more than 36,000 people. And we have, with a ripple effect, we estimate over 185,000 people in their communities. We know our model works, and it works for people like Joel and Brenda, and we know that there are many more Joel and Brendas out there, and more Ashleys, and more Michaels, and more Marcuses who need our support. Right now, we're working statewide in California, and our vision is to bring our model to other states by using our online programs, which has just launched a national training platform, and also having moving key staff into key states where we know there are high numbers of people with records and organizations that are looking for our kind of support. So we ask that you join us in this journey, and we're very grateful and humbled to be here today with such an amazing group of Catalyst cohort partners.